everybody. Thank you for tuning in and watching my YouTube video on my children's lit project. For this project, I decided to do a math curriculum study. The reason I chose to do a math curriculum study is because, if I'm being honest, math is not my favorite subject to teach in an area that I feel I need to work in. So I wanted to take this opportunity to gather a bunch of math resources that could benefit me and also co-workers that teach other grades in the building. Using picture books in math is an excellent way to open mathematical discussions with children of any ages. As I was doing research for this project, I was shocked at how many wonderful books and resources are available. I was surprised that there were so many good picture books that correlate with mathematical topics. Math picture books are great ways to introduce children to mathematical concepts. Math books can be enjoyed by young learners in kindergarten as they read about sorting, counting, and patterns, but they can also be used by upper elementary students as they read about fractions, decimals, multiplication, division, and angles. Using picture books helps students make connections with math concepts. It is difficult for many students to understand these math concepts. Introducing math through picture books allows the students to make strong connections to be shown concrete examples of the math topic that is being discussed. Books also allow students to make multiple connections as they read about math, hear about math, talk about math, and then do the math. I think it is very important for math books to feature rich vocabulary that helps students build their mathematical language skills. Introducing math vocabulary through books helps students gain a deeper understanding of the word and gives them more concrete examples that they are able to relate with. Another important aspect of math books is that they captivate and engage the reader. There are so many great math books available, and you need to find one that will captivate your class. This can be done through vivid pictures, creative storylines, and fun and interesting characters. Some critical issues that deal with math books, one of the big ones is teacher selection. So I think that one critical issue when using math books is teacher selection. It is wonderful that there are a vast number of math books on numerous topics and skills, but this makes teacher discretion all the more important. When teachers are collecting books for a math unit, they need to know what specific skill they are working on. If you do a search for math books, you're going to be overwhelmed. You need to know, am I going to focus on patterns? Am I going to focus on counting or addition? And then when you can narrow down your search, it's easier to find age-appropriate material. And I have found that many of these math book titles are fun and easy, but really they're hard to understand. So it's really important that the teacher preview the books before she shares it with the class, just as you would do any book, because sometimes the title and the illustrations can be pretty deceiving. Selecting math books for your classroom is not something that a teacher can do quickly. One of the primary criteria that teachers need to use when selecting their books is to think about the quality of the book's content and their illustrations. They also need to think about the appropriateness of the math content and address grade level topics. If teachers are building their math picture book library, they need to choose books that represent all 5 of the standards defined by the NCTM, or the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. These 5 standards include number and operations, algebra, geometry, measurement, data analysis, and probability. So when you're selecting books, try to find books that cover all 5 standards. Now here's my favorite part. I found so many books that I'm just going to preview just a couple and hopefully encourage you and inspire you to go check them out, buy them. Most of these books I checked out from the library, but I went ahead and bought from Amazon to put in my classroom. So let's get started. One book that I read was called The Water Hole by Graham Base. Most of you will know this author because he is the author of Animalia. This was copyrighted and published in 2001, and it won many literary prizes. It won a Book List Award. It won a literary prize from the New York Times. It won the Young Readers Award in 2001. I love this book because, for many reasons. This book is a counting book. It starts with number 1 and it goes through 10. It shows different animals on every page. So this page shows 7 pandas sipping at the water hole. So with your class, you could canvas, and I love the texture that this book provides. Every page you turn, the water hole gets smaller and smaller. So then you would go into 8. It says 8 ladybugs meeting by the water hole. And you would continue on the pages. You see 9 tortoises, 10 kangaroos, but my favorite part of this book is the very last page. If you flip to the very back, the author has shown you that page 1 has the animals of Africa. Page 2 has the animals that live in India. Page 3 has the animals that live in South America, the Himalayas, North America, rivers and streams, China, Galapagos Islands, and Australia. So not only could you use this in counting, but you could also use it as a unit. So if I was talking about Australia, I could come to page 10 that says 10 kangaroos, and we could talk about how kangaroos are native to Australia. So that's one of my best pick awards. The next one is called How High Can a Dinosaur Count by Valerie Fisher. It was copyrighted in 2006, and it won lots of awards. It won a literary prize from Booklist, from Hornbook, Kirkus Review, and the School Library Journal. I love this book because it can be used in many different grade levels. The book starts out with addition, and it ends with multiplication. The way I would use this book, and that I'm planning on using it in my own classroom, is to read 1 page a day. That's going to be our math warm-up for the day. So the first one that's appropriate for my young children is, Tristan and Troy are always talking on the telephone. 6 telephones just rang for Tristan, and 4 rang for Troy. How many telephones rang for the twins? So right there, 6 telephones rang for one of the birds, 4 telephones rang for the other bird. So as a class, we could brainstorm, how could we solve this? What could we do to find the answer? So this would be a great problem for kindergarten, 1st grade, beginning of 2nd grade. But if you flip, the riddles get harder and harder. It's called Mysteries of Math. So this one deals with subtraction, which I would not be able to use at this point in the year with my children, but hopefully by the end of the year we could use subtraction. Listen to the subtraction vocabulary. Daphne dines on daisies. For dinner, she usually eats 15, but today she eats 6 fewer than usual. How many daisies does Daphne eat for dinner? So there's a lot you could do with this problem. We know she starts out with 15. She has 6 fewer than usual. So you could have a class discussion. This could be their math journal for the day, their warm-up problem. And then this one deals with multiplication, which would be great for upper grades. At the Loopy laundromat, the washing machines slosh and spin, but never wash a thing. Instead, they make fizzy fruit frappers. Each washing machine can make 5 frappies a day. How many does the Loopy laundromat make every day? So you would have to see, okay, I know one machine at the laundromat can make 5 a day. How many machines are there? And you'd have to use multiplication to find this answer. Of course, you could offer manipulatives for your children to use when they're trying to answer this problem. So this is another one of the ones called How High Can a Dinosaur Count? That was my favorite. I also love the book called Equal Schmeequal. It was published in 2005, and it won literary prizes from Booklinks, the Kirkus Review, Library Media Connection, and the School Library Journal. This is just such a cute book that deals with animals. The animals see the school children playing tug of war, and they decide they want to join in. So you start off with Mouse and Bear, and they're playing tug of war. Well, obviously, that's not going to work very well. So some other forest animals come in, they try to figure out how the best way to play tug of war is. And so Mouse keeps saying, we need to be equal, we need to be equal. Equal means fair, explained Mouse. We should divide into 2 equal teams somehow. Okay, so they get into equal teams, but pretty soon you've got Mouse, Rabbit, and Turtle against the Bear. And guess which team loses? The Mouse, the Rabbit, and the Turtle. So then they keep going, and Mouse says, listen, said Mouse, listen up, I have an idea. The animals stop fighting and listen. I thought that instead of using equal numbers, she explained, our teams could have equal weights. We could use this seesaw to figure it out. So they decided that having equal they get on the seesaw, and this is a great time to introduce balance, weight. You see that obviously the deer weighs more, and then it tips the scales this way and back, and finally, the seesaw is equal, and the animals can play their game of tug of war. So it goes from talking about being equal in numbers to equal in weight. Very cute book. Another one that I love is called Just a Minute. And this one, I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce the Spanish award, but it won the Pura Belpre Award, which is presented annually to a Latino writer and illustrator whose work best portrays, affirms, and celebrates the Latino culture. This is a really great book. It counts the numbers 1 through 10 in both English and Spanish. I love the illustrations in this book. It says, the rich illustrations show you the traditions of Mexican culture. So you see the pictures are very vivid and would captivate any age children's attention. So as the story starts out, you have Senor Calavera, which is translated in English as Mr. Skeleton. He arrives at Grandma Beetle's door and he tells her, Grandma Beetle, it is time for you to come with me. Well, Grandma Beetle said, not so fast, Senor. She said, I just have one thing to do. She said, Uno. One house swept, she counted to Senor Calavera, and he rose from his seat. Well, after she finished cleaning her one, or Uno, house, she said, oh, but Senor, I just have 2 dos pots of tea to boil. So she goes all through the story. And poor Senor Calavera, he just can't get Grandma Beetle out of her house because she's always coming up with something to do. And finally, he has no choice but to give in and help her. So throughout this story, you see that Grandma Beetle is tricking Senor Calavera, but you can also use this book in so many more ways than just math. If you wanted to talk about the Mexican culture or the heritage, this would be a great book to use. It also would be a great way to introduce the holiday, the Day of the Dead, that is celebrated in Mexico. Another great idea for this book is to create a skeleton or a puppet of Senor Calavera and then label the body parts. So if you put the skeleton, who is the main character in this book, together, you could assemble him, you could fasten him with brads, and you could label the tibia, the femur, the cranium, the phalanges, and children could use their science vocabulary and tie it in with literature. Alright, the last book I want to show you is called How Many Seeds Are in a Pumpkin by Margaret McNamara. Okay? And this book just goes through, the teacher comes in with 3 pumpkins, and he doesn't know how many seeds are inside. So he makes the students predict. They have to predict how many seeds are in our pumpkin. Okay, so they empty all the pumpkins out, and they have to figure out the best way to count them. They've got a big pumpkin, a medium pumpkin, and a small pumpkin. So some students count by 2s. They group all the seeds together in groups of 2. Another group in the class decides they want to count by 5s. So they put all their pumpkin seeds in groups of 5. One boy by himself named Charlie thinks, counting by 2s and counting by 5s, that's great, but I think that counting by 10s would be the best way. So he groups all of his seeds in piles of 10 and counts by 10. This book is a great way to show counting by 1s, 2s, 5s, and 10s. It would be a great addition to any classroom. So that's my quick recap of the books that I love and have found for my math curriculum study, and I hope that you've enjoyed my presentation and are excited about math like I am. Thank you.